And in the Impact segment tonight, the Talking Points memo. Going Bulworth on all the controversies in Washington. According to an article in the New York Times, President Obama has told confidants that he would like to go Bulworth. That is a reference to a 1998 Warren Beatty movie where the one-time matinee idol played Senator J. Billington Bulworth, who was a complete phony. Toward the end of the film, the senator has an epiphany and decides to tell the truth.
We can't get health insurance, fire insurance, life insurance. Why haven't you come out for Senate Bill 2720?
Well, because you haven't really contributed any money to my campaign, have you? You got any idea how much these insurance companies come up with? They pretty much depend on me to get a bill like that and bottle it up in my committee during an election, and in that way, we can kill it when you're not looking.
Now, I, as an American citizen, want President Obama to go Bulworth, to actually tell us what he thinks, especially about the controversies in Benghazi with the IRS and the Justice Department snooping around reporters. But so far, the president is doing a great imitation of the late actor John Banner.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning. I see nothing.
Now, here's how bad the lack of information really is. When Chris Wallace asked where the president was the night Ambassador Stevens was killed in Benghazi, he didn't get very far.
Do you not know whether he was in the situation?
I don't remember what room the president was in on that night, and that's a largely irrelevant fact.
No, it's not. Americans want to know where the commander-in-chief was while his ambassador and 3 other Americans were being killed. That is a valid question. Today, former IRS Chief Doug Shulman testified before the Senate, but predictably, he doesn't know anything about targeting conservatives.
How did this happen?
Mr. Chairman, I can't say that I know that answer. I've now had the benefit of reading the report, and that's the full accounting of facts that I have at this point, and so I don't think I can answer that question.
I don't know. Nobody can answer any questions. Do you sense a pattern here? If you're a fair-minded person, the Obama administration is becoming a frustrating experience, is it not? Just tell us what happened, Mr. President. Stop dancing around. We don't need a replay of Watergate.
This is not Watergate, but there are some people in the administration who have acted as if they want to be Nixonian, and that's a very big problem. Yes, it's a big problem. So, Mr. President, again, let's go Bulworth. Tell us the truth. And that's the memo. Now for some interesting information on the IRS story. As you may know, President Obama says he learned about the scandal on May 10th. But White House counsel Catherine Rumler apparently knew about it on April 24th. And so did White House Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew knew about the IRS investigation on March 15th. But again, Mr. Obama knew nothing until May 10th. Join us now from Washington, Fox News political analyst Charles Krauthammer. And you say?
Well, the president says everybody has to tell the truth. Well, I was on this show last week, Thursday, the day the president answered questions from the press while standing next to the Prime Minister of Turkey. There was a question asked by the Bloomberg reporter. Did anybody at the White House know about the IRS activities? And you remember my saying on the show that time with you that Obama gave a very lawyerly and peculiar answer. He did not answer about the White House staff. He said, I didn't know about the IG report until I learned about it in the press. But the question was not about him. The question was about the White House staff. And he deliberately dodged that answer. Now we know that when he was asked that question last Thursday, he knew at the time that his staff did know about it. The press story from Jay Carney was only the White House counsel knew about it. But it turns out that, as you just showed, the chief of staff knew. They were actually discussing with Treasury officials how to let the story out. So all this activity is going on. The president knows that they knew, but he doesn't answer the question. That wasn't a lie, but that was a deliberate suppression of the truth.
Evasion.
And this from a man who somehow leaks to the Times the idea that he's now only interested in everybody on his staff coming out and saying what they know. Why didn't he say what he knew when that question was asked of him last Thursday?
They're not interested in telling anybody anything, and we know the answer to that. Now, tomorrow, Lois Lerner, the head of IRS's Exempt Organizations Division, is going to testify, and apparently she's going to take the Fifth Amendment in front of the House Oversight Committee. This is huge. Now we're into criminality. A lawyer says, well, she didn't commit any crime, but she's going to take the Fifth Amendment anyway. I mean, come on. This is really building, is it not?
There's a lot of oxygen here. When anybody takes the Fifth in front of Congress, we impute without, it's not unreasonable, that there's a lot they've got to hide and they're very worried. Yes, in a court of law, the jury's not supposed to impute that. But this isn't a court of law.
No, this is the media, and I'm wondering why this person is taking the Fifth Amendment.
We're citizens making reasonable inferences that there is very nasty stuff here. And the reason there's more oxygen here is because the head of that committee, the one that held the hearings today that you showed in the clip, is a Democrat. This is Max Baucus, the Democratic chair of the Senate Finance Committee, the Senate controlled by Democrats, who said this story is very, very unusual and that there's a lot. He said yesterday when he submitted 41 questions to the IRS, including, did you have any communications about this with Treasury or with the White House?
Right.
He said, my gut tells me there's a lot here. So you can no longer have the White House pretending, as it does with Benghazi, that this is a partisan witch hunt. This is Democrats.
No, this is getting huge.
Scandalized by the IRS.
I'm going to give Charles 45 more seconds because I want you to weigh in on James Rosen. Rosen investigating a story about North Korea retaliating to UN sanctions by testing missiles. All right, that's what he was doing. Justice Department wants to find out who Rosen's source is for this information. Goes in and looks at James's personal email account for about almost a month. What do you say about that?
This is a brazen assault on the First Amendment, freedom of the press. We traditionally will go after the emails of a person who's under criminal suspicion for leaking it. But we do not go after the journalists who merely are soliciting information. We have never had a successful prosecution of a journalist.
Do you see it as an anti-Fox play here?
Look, I don't know whether in this particular case it was anti-Fox, but it surely was an assault on the press. And we also know that from the beginning of this administration, the White House, starting with the president, has tried to delegitimize Fox and pretend somehow it's outside the sphere of journalistic integrity and protection.
And again, this is all under the Attorney General, all right? And he can't recuse himself from this. So let's hear what you have to say, Mr. Attorney General. All right, Charles.
To quote a Democrat, the fish rots from the head.
Ooh, something like that. And we'll have more on the controversy surrounding